I have to say these cats in the film were like, they must have been lucky cats because they were so well behaved and trained. I didn't know you could like really train a cat.
Well, first, I just want to congratulate you on Fly Me to the Moon. It's just a really beautiful ride. It got me. I teared up and I laughed a lot. So thank you. You did it. I'd love to go to you first, Scarlett. And I want to ask a little bit about this idea of handing back a narrative to some of those who were left out of the space program, which women, and then of course with the character of Lance, LGBTQ plus folks get a voice in this. And I think that's really beautiful because I'm sure they were there. Would you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's such a it's interesting because when you look at photos of NASA, like even when we were looking like, oh, what did the room look like? And like, how do you cast like all the background for it? And it's just like very homogenized. Like that was like what that room looked like, right?
Yeah. Totally.
And so I think being able to really like to show the side of the story that are like the creative minds that are, like really, that are looking at things like in this bigger picture, like producerially, and like are able to like sprinkle the magic on this and like sell this huge idea and like really the creative brain behind like this massive effort, to be able to like tell that other side with these characters that are so strong, and like little and not recognized was just it just I think gives the film, that's what makes the film so like it makes it such a bigger picture than like what it I think traditionally is, which can be like very narrow.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for that. And Channing, I wonder, would you talk a little bit about the idea of community, because here the nation came together for something common and hopeful. And I think this film is really timely because we don't have that anymore. I can't think of anything in recent years that's brought the entire nation together. Would you talk about the idea of hope that's in this film?
Yeah, I mean, when you look back at this moment, it was still a very controversial moment, and they, the PR of it was, very important because they were spending so much money on this race with Russia, and it was people were poor and people were struggling in the country, so it was very, 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 just controversial, I guess is I'll say it again, but it did bring the country together in the achievement of it, I guess. Like once we got there, but getting there was tough, and I think that's kind of where we are right now in this time. But I don't know what the getting there is at this moment, and that's what's scary. There's no like, oh, we made it to the moon at the present moment, So I think that's really scary, but I think it's more of a reminder that we are all in this together, not just in this country, but like this world. And it's really easy to like feel very myopic about like your life, and because we all have struggles. It doesn't matter where you are and where who you are. Everybody understands pain and suffering and love, or the lack of stuff, and just on different levels of degree. And if we could all just try to get together more and understand that about each other, I think that would be helpful. But having a common goal, I think, is really tough right now.
Yeah, I agreed. Well, thank you so much, Channing. And then as a black cat owner, I have to ask, Scarlett, really would you talk a little bit about justice for black cats?
I know. You're so right. I had a black cat growing up who was kind of feral and crazy, but also so cute, named Gherkin, who I loved, who I saved from a set, who was like the cutest thing. I know.
I forgot it was called
Gherkin. I have to say these cats in the film were like, they must have been lucky cats because they were so well behaved and trained. I didn't know you could like really train a cat. We talked about, because they get like bored of food. They just are like disinterested and they're like, what will you give me now? Like, I'm not doing this.
I don't understand how they did it.
They were lucky cats for us because they were like delivered basically every time. I was like, these cats are incredible.
On the Coen Brother movie, like that, we had a dog that just needed to bark. That was all it needed to do, and we couldn't get it to bark for almost a half a day. It was like they were like, we just needed to bark one time, and so I would jump to the thing, do the thing, and then they would be cueing the dog to bark and just wouldn't do it. And I thought we were screwed with the cat. I was just like, they're never gonna get this cat to do
CGI the
anything.
Cat. I know,
and they did it, and I was blown away.
Yeah,
I was totally blown away.
I think they are good luck. I disagree.